The pounding came hard, loud enough to rattle the thin wood of the cabin door. The man sat up on the cot, boots already on the floor, hand to the shotgun leaning by the wall. The hour was wrong. The sound carried the weight of something not just urgent, but desperate. He moved slowly to the door. The pounding stopped. Silence swallowed the room, except for the small groan of the stove's fire settling in ash. He opened it. A stranger stood there, ragged, hat low, shoulders wet with night. In his arms, a baby. The man froze. What in God's name? The stranger's voice was flat. You promised Mama shelter. The man gripped the door, pulse climbing. I don't know you. The stranger stepped forward anyway, crossing the threshold like it was owed. He carried the baby close, wrapped in a quilt. The air shifted when he entered, firelight bending, silence cutting sharper. You're not coming in here, the man muttered. You already let me, the stranger said, looking around the room like he'd been there before. And you'll keep us, just like you swore. The baby started fussing, a thin, sharp cry. The man's throat tightened. Get that child out. You'll take her, the stranger said, setting the baby down on the rough wood table. She's hungry, cold, Mama's gone. The man stared at the quilted bundle. The fire hissed as a log shifted. Who's the mother? You know, the stranger said. No? Yes, you do. The baby wailed louder. The man pressed a hand to his forehead, shotgun still leaning within reach. He wanted the night to undo itself, to fold back to silence before the knock. Where's your horse? He asked. Didn't ride one. You walk a child through this dark. Wasn't far. The man's jaw locked. You're lying. The stranger turned, lifted the baby back into his arms. He rocked her slowly, but his eyes never softened. She said if it came to this, you'd give us a roof. She said you owed her. The man's breath stilled. Who? You promised Mama shelter. I don't owe her. I don't owe you. The stranger's boots scraped the floor. Then tell her yourself. She's gone in the ground, but she'll hear you. The man's chest tightened. He glanced at the fire, at the smoke curling against the stovepipe. The baby's cry rattled the walls. You better leave before sunup, the man said. The stranger's eyes stayed fixed. We're not leaving. The man felt the weight of the shotgun calling from the wall. He didn't move. What's your name? Doesn't matter. I asked you. The stranger smirked, thin and cold. Names won't help you. Promises might. The man's palms itched with heat. He kept his voice low. I never promised your mama anything. The baby whimpered, settling against the stranger's chest. The stranger walked closer to the stove, held her, toward the warmth. He unwrapped the quilt a little, enough for the baby's face to glow in the firelight. Tiny, pale, fragile. The man looked too long. The stranger noticed. She's got her eyes. Whose? You know. The man's lips pressed thin. Get out. The stranger shook his head. We'll stay till morning. Then you can decide if you'll keep your word or bury it. The man's chest burned. If I let you, the sheriff will come. He'll ask questions. Let him. You want him here? He already knows. The man blinked. Know what? The stranger didn't answer. He lowered himself into the chair by the stove, baby in his arms, rocking her steady. The fire hissed and cracked. The man felt the air close in tight around his ribs. You've got the nerve, the man said. You've got guilt, the stranger replied. Silence settled again, broken only by the stove. The man walked toward the shotgun, lifted it just enough. Last chance. The stranger didn't flinch. You won't shoot a child. The man's hands trembled, though he tried to keep it steady. He lowered the gun, set it back against the wall. His voice cracked. Why here? Because Mama said, she's dead. She still said it. The baby whimpered again. The stranger hushed her, whispering words the man couldn't catch. The sound made the hair on his arms rise. He sat back on the cot, boots heavy against the floor. You bring me her name, then I'll listen. The stranger stroked the baby's cheek, eyes glinting in the firelight. Her name's buried in your head. Dig it out. The man shook his head, fingers pressed to his temples. The pounding from the door still echoed inside him, sharp as when it first came. He could smell damp earth clinging to the stranger's clothes, like he'd crawled out of a grave. You're not right, the man said. Neither are you. The fire flared high, then dropped low, smoke curling back into the room. The baby stirred, her tiny cry cutting through the crackle. The stranger leaned back in the chair, rocking slowly. You'll remember before long. You'll remember every word you swore, and when you do, you'll choose." The man kept his eyes on the floor, throat tight, chest hollow. He couldn't speak. The stranger's voice carried like a verdict. Shelter or ash. The baby cried harder. The man shut his eyes, but the sound drilled deep. The promise he never admitted, or maybe had buried, pressed against his skull like a weight. He whispered, almost to himself, "I don't owe." The stranger rocked the baby, calm, steady. "Sure, you do." The fire burned low, and the night stretched on, thick with silence and the sharp, steady cry of the child. The knock still echoed, and neither man moved. The baby's cry thinned into a tired whimper. The stranger set her back on the table, a quilt bundled around her. Small body, his movements were steady, too steady for someone who had carried her through night and mud. He looked at the man as if the room already belonged to him. "You promised Mama shelter." The man's jaw tightened. "I told you once, I don't know your mama." The stranger's voice didn't change. "She said you'd say that." The man took a step forward, pointing at the door. "You've had your fire. You've had your rest. Now you go." The stranger leaned against the chair. "She knew you'd deny it. She said you'd choke on it before you'd admit." "I don't owe a word to some ghost," the man snapped. "Not a ghost. A woman. A mother. Mine." The man's breath caught. His eyes flicked to the child, then away. "That's not my burden." The stranger laughed once, dry, sharp. "Burden or promise?" The baby stirred, little fists pressing against the quilt. The man rubbed his hand over his mouth. "You think you can walk in here, wave a child in my face, and trap me in some tale?" "It ain't a tale," the stranger said. "It's a debt." The man's voice dropped. "I never promised her anything." The stranger pushed the words harder. "You did." She remembered. "Every night she said it. If the day turned dark, you'd keep us." The man gritted his teeth. "Who was she to me?" The stranger's eyes sharpened. "You tell me." The fire hissed. Shadows shifted across the wood walls. The baby made a small, broken sound. The man's chest ached against it. "You're lying," he said. "You're afraid," the stranger answered. The man pulled out the chair opposite the stranger and sat down, leaning close, voice low. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I've seen men use children to twist the truth. Won't work here." The stranger lifted the baby, quieting her against his shoulder. Mama said the same. Men twisting truth, burying it in wells, behind doors. She said you weren't like them. She believed it. The man's throat tightened, but he shook his head. "You're filling the air with nothing. I never swore a thing." The stranger rocked the baby, never breaking his stare. "She said you'd deny until your bones cracked." The man pushed back from the table, pacing. The floor creaked under his boots. He muttered, "Why here? Why me?" "Because she named you," the stranger said. "She spoke your name with her last breath. I heard it." The man turned sharply. "Say her name." The stranger went quiet. He held the baby closer, gaze heavy. "Don't need to. You already hear it." The man slammed his fist against the wall. "Enough!" The baby startled, crying out again. The sound clawed through the room. Both men froze. The stranger whispered, "See what you've done?" He rocked the child back into calm. The man's shoulders dropped. His voice thinned. "You come in here, digging at graves. I've buried enough." "Not deep enough," the stranger said. The man leaned against the wall, head bowed. "You don't know what you're stirring." "I know you're lying," the stranger said. The man looked at him sharply. "And if I am, what good is the truth?" The stranger's grip on the baby tightened. "It gives her a home. It keeps her from being ash." The man rubbed his temples. "I can't keep no child. You can. You will. No. Yes." Their voices cracked the silence back and forth like whips. The man moved toward the stove, feeding it another log. Sparks flared, smoke coiling upward. He spoke without turning. "The sheriff comes by. He sees you. He'll take that child away." The stranger shook his head. "Sheriff already knows. He knew Mama. He knew you. He let her die." The man froze. "That's a lie." "It's the truth," the stranger said. "And he'll come knocking again. Not for me. For you." The fire snapped. The baby breathed softly against the stranger's coat. The man stared at the flames, face set, but trembling at the edges. You've said your piece, the man muttered. You'll leave at dawn. The stranger's voice cut low. We're not leaving. You don't belong here. We do. Mama said so. The man turned, eyes burning. Stop saying her name through me. Then say it yourself. The stranger shot back. The man's chest heaved. He stepped close to the table, pressing both hands down against the wood. Tell me why you're really here. The stranger held his gaze, voice steady. Because you promised Mama shelter. The words hung heavy, choking the air. The man pushed back, staggering toward the cot, dropping onto it like a weight too heavy to carry. He covered his face with his hands. His breath came harsh, uneven. The stranger kept rocking the child, whispering words soft and steady. The baby cooed, then quieted. The man lowered his hands. His eyes were wet, but his voice hardened. You'll regret crossing my door. The stranger said nothing, only rocked the baby. The fire dimmed, smoke thickening. The night pressed against the cabin walls like it was listening. The man stared at the child, then away. His voice was thin, worn. I don't know your mama. The stranger's eyes gleamed in the glow. You will. The baby's soft breathing filled the silence. The fire hissed once, then settled. Neither man moved. The night held them both like a sentence waiting to be spoken. The stove hissed, flames licking high against the iron walls. Heat pressed heavy into the room, thick as breath. The man tossed in another log, though the fire didn't need it. The blaze roared louder, filling every corner of the cabin with restless light. The baby stirred on the stranger's shoulder, a cry rising sharp. The sound cut through the heat, through the silence, through the man's bones. Feed her, the man muttered. The stranger didn't move. You feed her. I've got nothing for her. You've got more than you say. The man slammed the stove door shut. She's not mine. The stranger rocked the baby, voice low and steady. Doesn't matter. Mama said you'd keep us. The man's jaw flexed. He turned away, running a hand down his face. The fire popped, scattering sparks into the ash bed. You keep saying that, he said, because it's true. The baby wailed louder, high and piercing. The man winced, pressing his palms to his ears. Quiet her, he snapped. She cries for you. The stranger said. She cries because she's hungry. The stranger held the child tighter. Same thing. The man spun, pointing at the door. Get out. The stranger's eyes didn't move. Not leaving. The baby's cries rattled the walls. The man's breath came faster, shoulders tight. He wanted to rip the door open and shove them both into the night, but the fire behind him felt like a barrier. She'll wake the whole ridge, the man said. Let them wake. Let them hear. The man grabbed the shotgun, raising it halfway. Don't push me. The stranger rocked the baby, calm despite the gun. You won't shoot. You can't. The man's arms trembled. The baby's cry broke into gasps, her tiny chest heaving. He lowered the gun, cursing under his breath. The stranger's voice cut through the heat. You're afraid of her. I'm afraid of you. No, the stranger said, steady. You're afraid of the truth she carries. The man sat down hard in the chair, eyes locked on the flames. Ash gathered at the stove's lip, spilling gray dust across the floor. What do you want from me? He asked. The stranger whispered to the baby before answering. Shelter. And then you remember what you swore. The man shook his head. I never swore. The stranger leaned forward, voice sharp. She told me you did. With her dying breath, she told me. The man clenched his fists. Then she lied. The stranger's eyes narrowed. Don't say that. She lied, the man said again, louder this time, because I don't remember her, and I sure as hell don't remember a promise. The baby whimpered, softer now, sinking back into the quilt. The stranger stroked her cheek, whispering something the man couldn't hear. The fire flared behind them, smoke crawling from the stovepipe, curling back into the room like it didn't want to leave. You'll remember, the stranger said. The man stood again, pacing, boots dragging ash across the floor. He pressed a hand against the wall, steadying himself. His skin burned from the heat, sweat running down his temple. You've brought me nothing but grief, he muttered. I've brought you what you asked for, the stranger said. I asked for nothing. You asked for forgiveness. The man's head jerked up. From who? The stranger's eyes stayed fixed. From her. The man swallowed hard. He stared at the fire, its red core shifting, collapsing logs into gray. He whispered, She's dead. She still hears you." The baby let out a small, sharp cry again. The sound cracked the man's voice when he spoke. "She sounds like her." The stranger nodded once. "That's why you can't turn her out." The man staggered back to the chair, dropping into it, head in his hands. "I can't raise a child." "You don't need to raise her. You need to keep her. She's not mine. She's yours in promise." The man's chest heaved. He whispered through his fingers, "I buried enough promises." The stranger's voice turned harder. "Not this one." The fire snapped again, sending sparks up the pipe. Ash dust thickened on the floor, gray footprints marking the boards. The man stared at them, haunted. He raised his head. "If the sheriff comes, he'll come," the stranger said. "And what then?" "Then he'll know you kept her, or he'll know you broke." The baby shifted, a tired whimper slipping out. The man's eyes softened against his will. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, staring at her tiny face. "She looks like someone," he whispered. "She looks like Mama," the stranger said. The man's lips pressed tight. His breath shuddered out, heavy in the heated air. The baby's eyes flicked open, catching the firelight. The man froze, staring. The stranger rocked her, but his words aimed sharp. "Say you'll keep her." The man shook his head. "I can't." "You can." "I won't." "You will." The words struck back and forth like blows. The man rose, gripping the table's edge until his knuckles whitened. "What if I don't?" he asked. The stranger's tone didn't shift. "Then the fire takes her." The man's head whipped toward the stove. Flames roared higher, brighter, unnatural. Ash spilled heavier onto the boards. His breath broke, uneven. "You're cursed," he whispered. "No," the stranger said, rocking the child steadily. "You are." The baby cried out again, sharp, piercing. The fire flared in answer, sparks spilling like judgment. The man staggered back, chest heaving. His voice cracked, desperate. "Stop it." "Keep her," the stranger said. "I can't." "You must." The baby screamed. The fire roared. The ash poured. The man dropped to his knees, covering his face. His voice tore from him raw. "I never promised." The stranger's voice was steady, final. "You did." The baby's cry echoed, shrill, cutting through the blaze until the cabin felt like it would split apart. The man stayed on his knees, trembling, as the stranger held the child against the fire's glow, rocking her like the room wasn't burning. The ash piled higher, and the night pressed closer. The knock came again, this time sharp and measured. Morning light cut thin through the cabin slats, but the air was still heavy from the night's fire. The man froze at the sound. The stranger didn't move. The baby stirred in his arms, soft and restless. The man whispered, "Don't answer." The knock came harder. "Open up." The voice carried authority, calm but edged. The man cursed under his breath. He walked slowly to the door and cracked it open. The sheriff stood there, coat button, badge dull with years. His eyes flicked from the man's face to the room behind him. "Morning," the sheriff said. The man's jaw was tight. "You're early." "Didn't sleep." "Why here?" "Routine." The sheriff pushed past, stepping into the cabin like he owned it. His eyes landed on the stranger, then the baby. His mouth pressed thin. "Well," he said, "ain't that something?" The stranger rocked the baby steady, saying nothing. The man shut the door. "You got no cause." The sheriff turned, lifting his chin. "A man with a child shows up in the dead of night. Folks notice. They talk." The man's throat tightened. "And you came running?" "Doing my job," the sheriff said. The stranger finally spoke. "You're always late to it, though." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "You mind your tongue." The stranger didn't blink. Mama minded hers. Didn't help her. The sheriff's face twitched, a crack in his calm. He turned to the man. "You know him?" The man shook his head. "No." The sheriff studied him. "Is that true?" "It's true." The sheriff looked back at the stranger. "Then what's he doing here?" The stranger answered before the man could. "Keeping a promise." The sheriff's jaw locked. "Whose?" "Mama's." Silence held for a beat. The fire popped in the stove. The baby made a small sound, thin and aching. The sheriff shifted his weight. "That child got a name." The stranger's arms tightened. "Not one you'd speak to." The sheriff's gaze darkened. He stepped closer. "I'll speak what I please." The man cut in fast. "Leave it." The sheriff looked at him, voice low. "Are you hiding something?" The man held his stare. "Are you accusing me?" "I'm asking." "Feels like accusing." The sheriff let the weight of his silence hang. He looked back to the baby, then the fire. "That stove's running hot," he said. "It's cold outside," the man muttered. "Still," the sheriff said, "ash piles quickly when you keep it that way. Hard to breathe." The man shifted his boots. "Are you here for firewood lessons?" The sheriff smirked faintly. "I'm here for the truth." The stranger's voice cut in sharp. "Then start with your own." The sheriff's eyes snapped back to him. "You don't know me." "I know enough." "The what?" stranger said. "Mama knew more." The sheriff's face hardened. "You should be careful." The man stepped between them, voice rough. "That's enough." The sheriff leaned in closer to him. "Are you sure you want him here?" "I didn't invite him," the man said. "Then throw him out." The man's jaw clenched. "It ain't that simple." The sheriff raised a brow. "It never is, with you." The words landed heavy. The man's eyes flickered, but he stayed quiet. The sheriff stepped back, folding his arms. "You know what this looks like, don't you?" "Tell me," the man said. "Looks like you're harboring trouble. Stranger comes through, baby on his arm, talking promises to women you won't name. That kind of talk spreads fast. Folks start asking what debts you kept, what sins you buried." The man's chest tightened. "I don't owe them anything." "You don't owe me either," the sheriff said. "But you'll answer." The stranger rocked the baby, voice cutting cold. "You already know the answers." The sheriff snapped. "Quiet." The baby whimpered, restless against the noise. The stranger hushed her, rocking steady. The sheriff's eyes returned to the man. "You've got a choice. You send him on his way, or I make it official." "Official how?" the man asked. "Papers, custody. The child will be gone before noon." The man's throat closed. His eyes dropped to the baby. The stranger said, "You'd take her?" "After what you let happen." The sheriff's face twisted. "Careful." The man broke in, voice sharp. "Nobody's taking her." The room stilled. The sheriff studied him close, suspicion heavy in his gaze. "You're tied up in this," the sheriff said slowly. The man forced himself to meet his eyes. "I'm not." "You are. Otherwise you'd have thrown them out before dawn." The man's breath came tight. "Are you done here?" The sheriff lingered. His eyes swept the room, the fire, the baby. Finally, he turned for the door. "I'll be back," he said. The man didn't answer. The sheriff stepped outside, boots crunching gravel. The door shut behind him, leaving the cabin thick with smoke and silence. The man leaned hard against the wall, chest heaving. The stranger rocked the baby, calm, steady, certain. "He knows," the stranger said. The man whispered, "He knows too much." "Then he'll come again." The man stared at the fire, ash spilling from the stove lip, gray dust spreading across the floor. "He always comes again," he muttered. The baby let out a small cry, soft and sharp, and the room held its breath. The cabin went still. The baby finally closed her eyes, breath soft and uneven against the stranger's chest. The quiet pressed hard, heavier than the cries had been. The fire burned low, red coals glowing under gray ash. The man sat at the table staring at the small body wrapped in quilts. His voice cracked the silence. "She's out." The stranger nodded, rocking her slowly. "For now." "Thank God," the man muttered. The stranger's eyes flicked up. "Don't bring him in. He wasn't there when Mama asked." The man rubbed his forehead. "Stop calling her that." "Why?" "She was." "Not to me." The stranger leaned back in the chair, shifting the child gently. "Then to who?" The man looked away. His voice thinned. "I don't know." The stranger let the words hang. The stove popped. The quiet deepened. The man finally spoke again. "She looked at me once, years back. I remember that much." The stranger's eyes sharpened. "Where?" The man shook his head. "Town Square. She was with someone else. I didn't stop, didn't speak." The stranger's jaw set. "You're lying." "I'm not." "You are. She said you did more than look." The man's hands curled into fists. "She lied to you." The stranger's voice turned cold. "She never lied." Silence held. The baby shifted, sighing soft in her sleep. Both men froze until she settled again. The man whispered, "She had dark hair." The stranger nodded slowly. "And eyes that cut." The man swallowed hard. "She said something, didn't she? Before she went." The stranger's voice dropped. "She said you'd remember her voice, even if you forgot her face." The man shut his eyes. He pressed both hands to his ears like he could block it out. "I don't remember." "You do." "I don't." The fire cracked. The baby breathed steady, unaware of the weight in the room. The man lowered his hand, speaking low. I recall a girl, not a woman, a girl standing by the well when I was young. She asked me to draw the bucket, said her arms were weak. The stranger leaned forward, voice sharp. That was her. The man shook his head. Could have been anyone. Number Mama told me about that well. She told me about a boy who wouldn't look her in the eye when he gave her the rope. The man's throat closed. His voice broke. That was nothing. The stranger's eyes burned. That was the start. The baby sighed again, hand twitching against the quilt. Both men paused, waiting until she stilled. The room felt smaller, air thicker. The man whispered. She asked for help again. Years later, said she had nowhere to go. I turned her away. The stranger's voice turned to steel. That's when she made you swear. I never swore. You did. Maybe not with your mouth, but with your eyes. She read it there. The man shook his head. His boots scraped the floor as he rose, pacing. You're twisting me up. I don't need to. You're already tied. The man stopped, gripping the chair back. His voice was low, raw. She carried something, didn't she? Something that wasn't mine. The stranger rocked the baby. She carried the truth. Truth doesn't make a child. No, the stranger said, but lies do. The man turned, eyes fierce. Whose lies? The stranger's voice was steady. Yours. Sheriff's. Every man who promised and broke. The baby let out a tiny whimper. Both men froze, waiting. She settled again, breathing slow. The man sank into the chair, voice shaking. I can't hold her name. Every time I reach for it, it slips. The stranger's jaw tightened. That's the guilt of eating it. Or time, the man said bitterly. Time rots everything. The stranger leaned close, words sharp. Don't you dare blame time. The man stared at the fire, ash spilling from the lip. His voice dropped to almost nothing. I hear her sometimes, on the boards, on the stove when it cracks. But when I turn, it's only smoke. The stranger's eyes softened for the first time. That's her. She lingers. The man shook his head. That's madness. Or memory. The man rubbed his face hard, breath ragged. Why'd she send you here? Why not let her rest? Because she couldn't rest, the stranger said. Not until you answered. The baby stirred again. The stranger hushed her, rocking steady. She carried pain till her last breath. Now it's yours. The man's voice broke. I can't bear it. You already are. The silence pressed in. The baby's breathing filled it, soft, steady, relentless. The man whispered, what was her last word? The stranger looked at him, eyes dark. Shelter. The man's face twisted. He pushed back from the table, stumbling toward the cot. His hands shook as he sat, baring his head. The stranger's voice carried through the stillness. She meant here. She meant you. The man groaned into his palms. I never gave her anything. You gave her hope once. That's enough to bind you. The man looked up, eyes red. I don't even know if the child's hers. The stranger rocked her gaze firmly. You know. You just don't want to. The man's voice was low, breaking. If I said yes, if I claimed her, what then? Then you'd be keeping your word. And if I said no? The stranger's voice was sharp as steel. Then you'd be burying her with Mama. The fire hissed, smoke curling low into the room. The baby shifted, letting out one last sigh before sinking deeper into sleep. Both men sat silent, eyes locked, bound by a promise neither could name the same way. The silence held longer than the night before, and it cut deeper. The door creaked open before the man could stop it. She stepped inside, carrying the smell of earth and soap. Her eyes went straight to the baby, still bundled in quilts on the table. The woman's voice cut sharp. Whose child is that? Neither man answered. She crossed the floor, dust clinging to her hem. She touched the quilt edge, then looked at both of them. Answer. Me. The man's throat worked. Not mine. The stranger spoke over him. Hers. The woman's gaze sharpened. Don't play games with me. The man rubbed his forehead. He showed up last night, baby in his arms, talking about promises. The stranger added, promises you made. The woman's eyes narrowed. To who? The man didn't meet her eyes. I don't know. The stranger leaned forward. Mama. The woman's face didn't change, but her voice lowered. Say her name. The man shifted. I don't know. You do, she said. I don't, he snapped. The woman's hand pressed firmly on the quilt. Don't lie in front of a child. The man's voice cracked. I'm not. The stranger's tone was steady. He is. The woman turned to the stranger. And you? Who are you to walk in here? I'm the son. Her eyes widened slightly, then hardened. And the baby? My sister. The woman's hand lingered on the quilt. Her voice thinned. Your mother? She's gone. Yes, the stranger said. The woman closed her eyes for a beat, then opened them, firing behind them. And you brought her here? Because he promised shelter, the stranger said. The man slammed his hand on the table. I never promised. The baby stirred, sighing soft. The woman hissed at them both. Lower your voices, she's sleeping. They fell quiet. The woman lifted the child, holding her close, rocking gently. She looked down, her face softening only for the infant. Then she turned sharp again to the men. She deserves the truth, the woman said. The man whispered, Truth's buried. The stranger answered, Then dig it. The woman stepped closer to the man, holding the baby between them. What did you swear? I told you. What did you swear? She pressed. The man shook his head, voice low. I don't remember. The stranger snapped. You do. The woman's eyes cut through both. Then I'll tell you. You swore to protect her. You swore to keep her safe when no one else would. You swore what men always swear when they want something. The man's breath caught. That's not me. It is, she said. The stranger's eyes burned. She died believing it. The woman looked back at the baby, rocking her. Her voice softened but carried steel. And now this child carries that weight. She won't be left to lie to men's lies. The man rose, pacing. I can't carry her. I can't carry what's gone. You already are, the woman said. The man turned, voice raw. Why should I suffer for something I never asked for? The woman's tone was cold. Because she asked, and you answered. The stranger's voice sharpened. Or you thought you could walk away. The baby let out a faint cry. The woman hushed her gently, swaying side to side. She turned back to the men. You think she doesn't know? She said. Every cry, she calls for what's owed. You can hear it. You just don't want to. The man gripped the back of a chair, his knuckles whitened. What do you want from me? The woman's eyes never left his. I want you to say her name. I don't have it. Then say what you do remember. The man's chest heaved. He sank into the chair. Oh well, a girl with dark hair, asking me to draw water. I gave her the rope, but I didn't look her in the eyes. The stranger leaned forward. That was her. The woman nodded, slow, steady. And she remembered. Even when you turned away, she remembered. The man's voice cracked. It was nothing. The woman's words cut deep. It was everything to her. Because men walk away, but women hold on. The stranger's jaw set. And she held on to her last breath. The baby whimpered. The woman kissed her head, eyes sharp on the man. And now I hold her. The man's head dropped into his hands. His voice broke. I can't undo it. No, the woman said. You can only face it. The stranger's voice hardened. You either give her shelter or you give her to the ground. The man looked up, eyes red. You'd really leave her here? She belongs here, the stranger said. The woman rocked the baby, stepping back toward the cot. She laid her down gently, covering her with another quilt from the trunk. Dust rose as she shook it out, settling across the floor. The woman stood tall, eyes blazing. She won't be raised on lies. If you keep her with the truth. Not silence, not denial. The man whispered, I don't know if I can. You will, she said. The stranger's voice echoed her. You must. The fire hissed in the stove, ash spilling thick. The baby breathed soft, wrapped in quilts and dust. The woman crossed her arms, facing the man like a judge. This house will not be another grave. The man stared at her, broken. His voice fell thin. What if the sheriff comes? The woman's answer was sharp. Then we tell him she's ours. The stranger nodded. Ours, not his. The man shut his eyes, voice barely there. You'll regret it. The woman's tone was final. Number, I regret nothing but silence. The baby stirred once more, then settled. The room fell still, heavy with truth, heavier with what none of them said aloud. The quilts lay spread, the dust rising and falling like breath, and the woman stood between them, unshaken. The baby slept, quilt drawn high. The woman stood guard near the cot, arms crossed. The man sat hunched at the table, eyes fixed on the fire as if it might tell him what to do. The stranger leaned against the wall, coat pulled tight. Then he reached inside the coat. Metal clinked as he pulled something out, holding it low in his hand. The man's eyes narrowed. "What's that?" The stranger opened his palm. A badge, dulled with age, edges worn. The woman's breath caught. "Where'd you get that?" The stranger stared at the man. "It belonged to the sheriff's bloodline. You know it." The man stiffened. "You're lying." The stranger stepped closer to the firelight, letting the badge glint. "Mama kept it hidden. Said it was proof." The man's voice rose. "Proof of what?" "That the sheriff's family owed her too." The woman moved closer, eyes locked on the badge. "Let me see it." The stranger placed it on the table. She picked it up, turning it over. The engraved initials were faint, but clear enough. The man muttered, "Could be any badge." The stranger's tone sharpened. "It's his father's. You know it." The woman set it down hard on the table. "Why would she have this?" The stranger's voice was steady. "Because he gave it to her." The man shot to his feet. "That's a lie." The stranger didn't flinch. "It's the truth. Mama said the sheriff swore her protection, same as you. He gave her the badge so she'd know he meant it. Then he let her rot." The woman's eyes cut to the man. "And you knew?" His voice broke. "I didn't." The stranger stepped closer, fury in his stare. "You did. You were all in it. Promises in the dark, broken by morning." The man's hands shook. He grabbed the badge, gripping it hard like it might burn. "This doesn't prove anything." The stranger's jaw set. "It proves he owed her too." The baby stirred, letting out a thin cry. The woman hushed her quickly, rocking the cot with her hand. The man slammed the badge back on the table. "So what? You think a dead man's word binds me?" The stranger's voice cracked sharp. "It binds all of you, sheriff, his father, you, every man that left her with nothing." The woman's tone was cold steel. "And now the child bears it." The man turned on her. "You believe him?" She held his gaze. "I believe the badge." The man's voice rose. "It's just metal." The stranger snapped. "It's a memory." The man's fist hit the table. The badge rattled. The baby wailed louder. "Enough," the woman hissed. She scooped the baby up, rocking her against her chest. Her eyes burned at both men. "You'll wake her with your guilt, both of you." The man's chest heaved. He lowered his head into his hands. "I didn't ask for this." The stranger's voice dropped low. "Neither did Mama." The room filled with the baby's cry until she quieted again against the woman's shoulder. The fire hissed in the stove, spitting sparks. The woman's voice cut through. "If that badge is real, then the sheriff's tied in this deeper than he wants to admit." The man muttered. "He'll deny it." The stranger said, "He'll deny like you did, but he'll know." The man's eyes flicked up, hollow. "And what good's that do? Badges don't feed her. Badge doesn't hush her cries." The stranger leaned in close, voice sharp as a blade. "It binds you. It binds him. Neither of you get to walk free." The man shoved him back. The chair scraped across the floor. The stranger caught himself, fists clenched, eyes blazing. The woman shouted, "Don't!" Both men froze. The baby whimpered, settling in the woman's arms. Her voice came hard. "You want to fight? Do it outside, not near her." The man's chest heaved. "He's twisting lies." The stranger spat back. "You're choking on the truth." The woman stepped forward, the child still against her chest. "I don't care which it is. I care who will keep her." The man turned away, gripping the stove, staring into the ash. His voice was raw. "I can't." The stranger said, "You will." The man snapped back around. "Why me?" The stranger's eyes burned. "Because she chose you." The woman's tone was flat, final. "And because I say so." The man froze, staring at her. The woman's gaze was steady. "If the sheriff's blood is in this, then the whole town's tied. They'll bury it like they always do. But not in this house. Not with me breathing. The man whispered, "You'd stand against him." Her arms tightened around the baby. "I'd stand for her." The fire hissed again, sparks spilling across the ash. The badge lay on the table, catching light, dull and accusing. The stranger's voice carried low. "It doesn't matter who claims her first. What matters is she ain't left to dust." The man's eyes stayed on the badge. His hand twitched like he wanted to throw it in the fire, but he didn't move. The woman rocked the baby, whispering soft until her cries faded. Then she looked back at the men. "This child will not grow under silence. If that badge means the sheriff owes her blood, then we'll hold it over him. If it means you swore to her shelter, then you'll keep it. Either way, she will not be another secret." The man's face crumpled, torn between rage and fear. "And if he comes back?" The stranger answered before she could. "He will." The woman's voice was firm. "Then we'll be ready." The man sat back down, staring at the badge as if it might swallow him whole. The baby sighed in sleep. The fire dimmed low. The badge stayed on the table, heavy as truth, heavier than any of them could carry alone. The woman stood at the door, quilt still across her shoulder, baby pressed against her chest. The badge lay on the table behind her, but her eyes were on the men. "Outside," she said. The man frowned. "It's near dark." "Outside," she repeated. The stranger straightened. "Where?" "Well," she said. The man's face drained. "No." The stranger's eyes lit with something sharp. "Yes." The woman's voice cut. "Both of you, now." The baby stirred against her, whimpering, but she rocked her steady. She opened the door. Cold air swept in, cutting the heat from the stove. The man muttered, "You don't know what you're stirring." "I know enough," the woman said. They stepped into the yard. The night pressed heavy. A thin moon hung low. The ground crunched under boots. The man dragged his steps, eyes locked on the dark shape at the edge of the property. The stranger walked faster. "That's it, isn't it?" The man didn't answer. The woman's voice carried. "You've both danced around it long enough. Time to face it." The stranger stopped at the stone circle, moss-covered, wood frame leaning crooked. He looked down. "How long's it been?" The man's jaw tightened. "Too long." The woman came closer, baby still against her. "Open it." The man shook his head. "It's sealed." The stranger leaned down, tugged at the rotted cover, wood cracked, dust rising. "Not sealed enough." The man's voice sharpened. "Stop." The stranger pried harder. The lid gave way with a groan, falling aside. A hollow breath rose from the black. The woman stepped closer, peering into the dark. "What's in there?" The man's voice broke. "Nothing you need to see." The stranger's stare was fixed. "There's a body. Mama told me. She cried every night." The woman whispered, "Whose?" The stranger looked at the man. "Ask him." The man's throat worked. "I don't know." "Liar," the stranger spat. The woman's tone was iron. "Say it." The man staggered back. "It ain't mine." The stranger leaned over the stones, staring into the black. "She said he was hers. A brother. They took him from her, dropped him in the dark, left her with nothing but his memory." The woman rocked the baby, her voice low but steady. "And you knew." The man's face twisted. "I was a boy. I heard talk. The sheriff's men said it was justice. Said he stole from the wrong hand. Said the well would hold him better than a grave." The stranger turned, eyes burning. "And you stayed silent." "I was a boy," the man repeated. The woman's voice cut sharp. "And you're still a coward." The baby whimpered, restless in the cold air. The woman rocked her, eyes never leaving the men. So that's what haunted her. That's what she carried. The stranger's fists clenched. She swore his name would never be lost. She whispered it every night till her voice cracked. The man's shoulders sagged. "What name?" The stranger's voice dropped to a whisper. "Eli." The word hung heavy, sinking deeper than the well itself. The man shut his eyes, shaking his head. "I heard it once. I thought it was a ghost's name." The stranger's face twisted. "It was my uncle, and you let him rot." The woman stepped closer to the edge, staring down. The dark felt endless, cold air rising from it. She shivered. "It's still there. The weight. The silence." The man muttered, "Leave it buried." The stranger snapped. "Number Mama died with it. I won't." He picked up a stone and hurled it down. The sound echoed, long, hollow, fading slowly. The woman's voice shook, but stayed steady. "If the truth's down there, it will come up. You can't stop it." The man barked, "Truth doesn't raise the dead." The stranger shot back, "But it raises the living." The baby cried louder, wailing against the night. The woman hushed her, swaying, but her eyes stayed hard. "You hear her," she said. "Every cry's a call to that well. She carries more than flesh. She carries memories." The man pressed his hands to his head. I can't carry this and her both." The stranger's voice was fierce. "You don't get to choose. You already carry it. Every man on this land does." The woman's tone was cold. "And every woman pays the price." Silence stretched. The fire from the house flickered faint through the door crack. The well gaped black, endless. The man whispered, "What do you want me to do?" The stranger pointed to the stones. "Say his name. Say hers. Admit what you buried." The man shook his head. "I can't." "You will," the stranger said. The baby's cries pierced harder, shrill. The woman's voice rose. "Say it, or she'll never sleep." The man staggered forward, falling to his knees at the well. His breath came ragged. He whispered, "Eli." "Louder," the stranger demanded. The man's voice cracked louder. "Eli." The word echoed down, bouncing off stone, fading into the black. The baby stilled, her cries cut off, breath soft again. The woman's eyes glistened. Now hers. The man's face twisted. "I don't know." "You do," the stranger said. The man clutched the stone rim, nails scraping moss. Tears streaked his face. He whispered, "Mary." The stranger's body stilled. The woman rocked the baby, whispering the name. "Mary." The air shifted. The cold lifted a little, as if the well had taken the word in. The stranger's eyes burned. "You remembered," the man sobbed. "I buried it so deep I thought it'd die." The woman's voice was quiet, sharp. "It never dies. It waits." The stranger leaned over the stones, staring into the black. His voice cracked. "Mama, we spoke it." The man dropped his head against the rim, shoulders shaking. The baby slept again, breath soft and sure. The woman turned, heading back toward the house. "Bring the badge. Bring the truth. Leave the rest in the dark." The stranger lingered, eyes still in the well. Then he tore himself away, following her. The man stayed kneeling, unable to move. His voice was a whisper, lost to the dark. "Forgive me." The well gave no answer, only the hollow echo of Eli's name, circling deep below. The smoke rose before dawn, curling against the pale sky. The man saw it from the cabin door, his face drained of color. The stranger stood beside him, coat pulled tight, eyes fixed on the column rising above the ridge. The woman came out with the baby in her arms. Her voice was steady. "That's the governor's barn." The man whispered, "God help us." The stranger didn't look away. "God's got no part in this." The man rubbed his hands over his face. "If that barn's burning, the whole town split open." The woman's grip on the baby tightened. "Then it's about time." The man turned to her. "You don't understand. That barn fed half the county and bled the other half." She shot back. The stranger nodded. "Mama said fire was coming, said it would burn what men thought they owned." The man's voice shook. "It'll bring soldiers. It'll bring blood." The woman's tone cut. "Blood's already been spilled, just never theirs." They walked into town by noon. Smoke still lingered, thick and acrid, clinging to clothes and hair. The barn was a black skeleton now, beams charred, roof collapsed into ash. A crowd gathered, murmurs low, eyes sharp. The sheriff stood near the ruins, jaw tight, coat dusted with soot. His eyes landed on the man first, then drifted to the stranger, then the baby. His voice carried. "You brought them here." The man muttered, "We came to see." "You shouldn't have." The stranger stepped forward. "Who said it?" The sheriff's gaze flicked. "Doesn't matter." "It does," the stranger said. The sheriff's voice rose. "It was on fire. Fire doesn't ask permission. Fire don't confess." The crowd stirred. Women's voices cut through the low rumble. One called out, "It was justice." Another said, "He took from us long enough." The sheriff's head snapped toward them. "Quiet." But they didn't quiet. The woman holding the baby stepped forward, voice clear. "They're right. That barn stood on broken backs. Now it's ash." The sheriff's eyes burned. "You best hold your tongue." She held his stare. "Number not anymore." The stranger's voice was calm but sharp. "Mama's voice is in them. You can't silence it." The sheriff turned to him. You think you know this town? The stranger stepped closer. I know it better than you, because I heard her cry while you turned away. The man tried to step between them. Stop this! But another woman's voice rose from the crowd. She's right. The barn was built for our hunger. Another. And guarded by his men. Another. Let it burn. The sheriff's face tightened. He barked. Enough. The baby whimpered at the noise. The woman rocked her gently, eyes still locked on the sheriff. You can't put this out, she said. The sheriff's voice dropped, low and dangerous. If you think women can rise against him, you're fools. One older woman pushed forward from the crowd, face line, voice sharp. We've buried fools. Now we bury fear. The sheriff's hand twitched near his belt. The man grabbed his arm. Don't. The sheriff jerked away, breathing hard. The fire's ashes still smoldered behind him, smoke rising in faint curls. The stranger spoke low. That fire's a warning, and you know it. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. A warning to who? To you, the stranger said. To the governor. To every man who swore and broke. The murmurs grew louder. Some men shifted uneasily, but the women stood firm, their voices sharper, stronger. The woman holding the baby raised her voice. We're done waiting for promises. If fire's what it takes, then fire's what it'll be. The man whispered, shaken. You'll bring the soldiers down on us. The woman looked at him, steady. Then let them come. Let them see what's left when women stop bowing. The sheriff spat on the ground. You'll tear this place apart. The stranger's answer was cold. It's already torn. The baby whimpered again. The woman kissed her head, rocking her. Her eyes swept the crowd. This child won't grow in silence, not like her mother did, not like all of us have. The older woman nodded. Truth's louder than fire. The sheriff turned his back, staring at the ruins. His voice was bitter. You'll regret this. The stranger said, No. You will. The sheriff walked away, coat dark against the ash. The crowd murmured, whispers building into something heavier than smoke. The man stood frozen, staring at the blackened beams. It won't stop here, he muttered. The woman's reply was firm. Good. They walked back toward the cabin, the crowd parting for them. Whispers followed. Some called the woman brave. Others called her cursed. None turned their backs. By nightfall, the ridge glowed faint with embers. The baby slept again, soft against the quilts. The woman sat by the stove, eyes fixed on the door. The man whispered from the corner, The sheriff will bring the governor's wrath. The stranger sat across from him, voice calm. Let him. Fire spreads. That barn won't be the last. The woman's tone was steady, final. Then we'll be ready when it comes. Silence filled the room, heavy as smoke. The baby stirred once, then settled. Outside, the night held the faint scent of ash. The barn was gone, but the fire was only beginning. The hill was quiet but heavy, dotted with crooked stones. Grass grew tall between them, dry and brittle. The man led the way, hands shoved deep in his coat. The stranger followed close, the baby strapped in cloth against his chest. The woman stayed behind at the cabin, her voice still echoing in the man's head. Show him where you buried the truth. The man stopped at a row of leaning stones. His voice was low. Here, the stranger's eyes scanned the names worn by weather, some almost gone. Who's buried? Families, the man said. Old ones, sheriff's kin, governor's too. The stranger's jaw tightened. Not hers. The man looked away. She ain't here. The stranger pressed. Then why bring me? Because you asked about names. The man said. Names don't match stories. That's a lie carved in stone. The stranger bent, brushing dirt off a marker. The letters fainted in the light. Eli, he read. The man's chest tightened. The stranger looked up. She wasn't lying. The man shook his head. That ain't her Eli. That stone belongs to another. Sheriff's uncle died before she was even born. The stranger's fists curled. You're twisting again. I'm telling you what's carved. The baby stirred against his chest, soft whimpers rising. The stranger rocked her gently, eyes never leaving the man. Then where's hers? The man's throat worked. Nowhere. The stranger's voice cut sharp. You mean they never marked him? The man's silence was enough. The stranger stepped closer, voice low. So they buried him nameless. and let another man's stone hold his memory. The man muttered, "It's how this hill works. Truth doesn't get carved, only what the families allow." The stranger's eyes burned. Then every stone's a lie. Most, the man said. The baby fussed louder. The stranger rocked her, whispering low. His words shook with anger. She carried his name. She carried it till it broke her, and here it's gone. The man's face twisted. "You think I don't know what's missing? Every time I walk this hill, I see names that don't fit the mouths of those buried." The stranger snapped, "Then why do you leave it? Why not carve the truth?" The man's voice broke. "Because men like the sheriff cut the stone. Not me, not her, not you." The baby cried harder, small fists pushing against the cloth. The stranger hushed her, eyes locked on the man. "She'll grow," he said. "She'll ask where she comes from. What will you tell her? A stone with another man's name?" The man's voice was raw. "I'll tell her the ground doesn't hold answers. Only silence." The stranger spat. "That's not enough." The man's hand trembled as he reached for a nearby marker, moss clinging to its edge. "See this one? Says a woman died of fever. She was beaten. The sheriff's men called it sickness. Her grave still says fever. That's how stories live here." The stranger's teeth clenched. "Then we burn the lies down." The man looked at him hollow. "You burn names. You burn the dead with them." The stranger shot back, "Better ash than falsehood." The baby's cries softened, fading back to whimpers. The stranger rocked her close, whispering, "She won't carry lies." The man's eyes flicked to the child. "She'll carry more than you think." The stranger's jaw set. "Not if I shield her." The man's voice lowered, bitter. "You can't shield her. Look at us. We couldn't shield her mother." The words cut the air. The stranger froze, shoulders tightening. He whispered, "You admit it." The man's voice cracked. "I admit nothing but failure." The stranger's eyes burned hot. "Same thing." The man turned away, staring down the slope where the graves thinned into empty fields. His voice was low. "Every name up here feels like it's watching, judging." The stranger's tone was sharp. "Then let them watch. Let them hear me say what you won't. Mama was Mary. Her brother was Eli. Their names belong here, carved where no hand dares." The man whispered, "And if you speak to them, what changes?" The stranger looked at the baby, eyes fierce. "Everything." The baby blinked awake, small eyes catching light. Her mouth opened in a faint cry, as if echoing him. The man watched, broken. "She's too young to carry this." The stranger's voice was cold. "She already does." They stood silent, wind brushing the tall grass, stones leaning like tired witnesses. Finally, the man spoke, voice thin. "If I tell you where Mary lies, you'll never rest. You'll dig until the ground bleeds." The stranger said, "Better than silence." The man shut his eyes, whispering, "Her grave's not here. It's nowhere. The sheriff wouldn't allow it. She's dust scattered in the woods. No marker, no stone." The stranger's breath shook. "So she's lost." The man shook his head. "Not lost, just hidden." The stranger's hand pressed against the baby's back, voice breaking. "Then I'll carve her name myself." The man stared at him, startled. "You'd do that?" "Yes," the stranger said. "Even if the sheriff burns me for it." The man's voice cracked. "He will." The stranger's eyes flared. "Then let him." The baby cried again, louder this time. Her voice carried across the hill, sharp and cutting. The man whispered, "She's calling the dead." The stranger hushed her, eyes hard. "Number she's calling the living." The man looked down at the stones, the false names, the hollow lies carved deep. His knees weakened. He pressed his palm to the earth, whispering so faint the stranger barely heard. "Forgive us." The stranger rocked the baby, gaze locked on the graves. His voice was steady, final. No forgiveness, only the truth. The hills stayed silent, but the weight of the names pressed heavy on all three. The cabin was still when it began. The baby stirred in the cot, eyes closed, lips moving. No cry, no whimper, just a low hum, soft and steady, carrying through the room like it had no business coming from a child that small. The man froze at the table. The stranger's head snapped up. The woman, sewing quilt edges by the stove, dropped the needle. The hum rose, thin but clear, shaping itself into something almost like melody. The man whispered, "That's not right." The woman leaned forward. "She's too young to do that." The stranger stepped to the cot, bending low. The baby's chest lifted, her mouth trembling with the tune, steady as if she had sung it forever. The stranger's face went pale. "That's Mama's song." The man shoved back from the table. "No." "Yes," the stranger said, voice sharp. "She sang it every night." The woman whispered, "I've heard it too. In the fields, in the wind, but never from her." The baby hummed louder. The sound pierced bone, pulling the room tight around them. The man's breath came harsh. "Make her stop." The stranger's eyes stayed fixed. "She won't." The woman pressed a hand to her chest. "It's not hers. It's coming through her." The man's voice cracked. "It's a curse." "It's a memory," the stranger snapped. The woman shook her head slowly. "It's both." The tune shifted, deeper now, the baby's small lungs pushing sound beyond what seemed possible. The man staggered toward the cot, fists trembling. "Enough!" The stranger blocked him. "Don't touch her." "She's not natural," the man spat. "She's ours." The woman shot back. The baby's hum wove through them, pulling words none wanted to say. The man's knees buckled. He dropped into the chair, burying his face in his hands. His voice broke. "I left her. I left Mary when she begged. I told her I couldn't. I walked away." The stranger's eyes flared. "So you admit it?" The man's tears fell. "I was a coward." The hum grew softer, almost tender. The woman's voice cracked. "And I knew she carried sorrow in her bones. I didn't stop. I turned my eyes when I should have opened my door." The stranger whispered, "She forgave you." The woman shook her head. "Number, she just hit it deeper." The man lifted his head, eyes raw. "I swore nothing, but my silence was worse than my promise." The baby shifted, the hum trembling like a heartbeat. The stranger's jaw tightened. "And me, I hated her for clinging to your name. I thought if she let it go, she'd live. But she wouldn't. She sang instead. Every night, she sang herself into the ground." The man stared at him. "And now you bring her voice here." The stranger's breath shook. "Not me, her." The hum sharpened, high and piercing, like it wanted to split the air. The man slammed his fist on the table. "Stop it! Stop it before it drives us mad." The woman stepped between them, the baby still in the cot, humming, untouched. Her voice cut sharp. "She's not driving us mad. She's making us speak." The man rose, pacing the floor, hands clawing at his head. "I can't bear it." "You will," the stranger said. The baby's hum softened again, falling into a lull, almost like a vrr. "Him." The stranger's voice broke against it. "She sang this the night she died. Her last breath was this tune, and now her child carries it." The man whispered, "Why? Why would she give this weight to a child?" The woman answered, steady, "Because no one else would carry it." The hum carried on. The stranger sank into a chair, hands shaking. His eyes were wet. "I should have kept her from you. I should have taken her far." The man's voice cracked. "Would it have saved her?" The stranger shook his head. "No." The hum rose again, louder, pulling the confession from him. "I found her body. Sheriff's men left her on the edge of the woods, said it was sickness, said it wasn't their concern. But I saw the marks. They used her till she broke." The woman gasped, covering her mouth. The man's face twisted. "You never told." The stranger shouted. "Who would have listened?" The baby's hum turned sharp, urgent. The woman clutched her chest, breath ragged. "It's not just a confession she wants. It's reckoning." The man whispered, "She wants blood." The stranger looked at him, voice trembling. "Then give it." The hum rattled the walls. The fire hissed, smoke curling out into the room. The man staggered toward the cot, tears blinding him. "Mary, forgive me." The baby's hum slowed, deep and soft, almost gentle. The woman's voice dropped low. "She heard you." The man fell to his knees by the cot, clutching the quilt edge. His voice tore from his chest. "Take me instead." "Not her. Take me." The hum paused. Silence filled the cabin. The baby's eyes opened, wide, dark, watching. The man's breath froze. The stranger leaned closer, whispering, "Mama." The baby's lips parted. The hum slipped out once more, softer now, almost like a sigh. Then silence. The fire popped. The woman cradled her arms around herself, shaking. She stopped. The man's hands trembled against the quilt. "Is it done?" The stranger's face was pale. Number, it's only begun. The baby blinked slowly, then closed her eyes again, sinking into sleep. The room stayed thick with the echo of her song, as if the walls themselves still hummed. No one spoke for a long time. When the man finally rose, his voice was flat, hollow. "That song will come again." The woman nodded. "And when it does, we'll answer." The stranger whispered, "With truth." The baby slept, breath soft and steady, but the silence she left behind pressed heavier than sound. The cabin stood still, haunted by the hum that refused to fade. The wagon rattled down the dirt road, wheels grinding against stone. The man held the reins, jaw locked tight. The woman sat beside him, baby wrapped close in her arms. The stranger rode in back, eyes fixed on the town ahead. No one spoke at first, only the sound of hooves, the creak of wood, the baby's faint breathing. The woman broke the silence. "When we get there, there's no turning back." The man muttered, "I never wanted to go." The stranger's voice cut sharp. "You don't get to want. You get to answer." The man's grip tightened on the reins. "Answer for what?" "For Mary," the stranger snapped. The woman's voice pressed harder. "And for the child." The man's teeth ground. "What good will a courthouse do? It's run by the governor's men." The stranger leaned forward, eyes burning. "Then let them hear the truth anyway. Let them choke on it." The man shook his head. "They won't listen." The woman's tone was steady. "They will if we don't flinch." The baby stirred, a small whimper breaking the air. The woman rocked her gently, eyes never leaving the road. The stranger's voice softened for the first time. "She's humming again. Quiet. But I hear it." The man's chest tightened. "Stop saying that." "She is," the stranger said. The woman whispered, "Then let it guide us." The man snapped, "Guide us where?" "To ruin." The stranger's words struck like a hammer. "To judge." The wagon bumped hard over a rut. The baby cried out, then settled against the woman's chest. She hushed her voice low but firm. "We're almost there." The man muttered, "I don't want to face them." The woman turned, eyes sharp on him. "You'll face worse if you don't." The stranger leaned back, voice calm but cold. "The town's waiting. They saw the barn burn. They'll see us next. Let them." The man gripped the reins so tight his knuckles whitened. "And if they turn on us?" The woman's reply was quick. "Then we stand." The stranger added, "Better to fall in truth than live in lies." The man's breath came rough, shoulders heavy. He muttered, "You speak like this is holy." The stranger's eyes stayed fixed on the courthouse rising in the distance. "It is." The woman's gaze followed him. The building loomed ahead, white paint peeling, steps cracked, windows dark. Still, it carried weight. The baby let out a faint hum, soft and steady, almost like the night before. The sound froze them all. The man whispered, broken, "Not here, not now." The woman rocked her close, voice quiet. "Yes, here, now." The stranger's voice was steady, final. "Let the whole town hear her song." The wagon rolled into the square, hooves striking hard against packed earth. People turned, whispers rising like wind through dry grass. The courthouse doors waited, and they did not stop. The courthouse steps groaned under their boots. A crowd pressed close, whispers sharp as knives. The man kept his head low. The woman clutched the baby tight. The stranger stood tall, eyes locked on the sheriff waiting by the doors. The sheriff's voice carried, "What business drags you here?" The stranger stepped forward. "Her business." He nodded at the baby. The sheriff sneered, "That child's nothing but trouble." The woman cut him off. "She's proof." The crowd stirred. Women leaned closer, their voices low but eager. The man muttered, "We shouldn't have come." The stranger pulled a folded piece of paper from his coat. His hand shook, but his voice stayed steady. "Mama wrote this. Before she died." The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to be?" "A letter," the stranger said. He opened it. The paper yellowed, edges torn. His voice rang clear. "She wrote, 'He promised me shelter. When the world turned, when no one else would, he swore I'd have a roof. His name was—'" He stopped, eyes lifting to the man. Silence pressed hard. The man's face drained. "Don't." The woman's voice was sharp. "Say it." The stranger finished. "His name was yours." The crowd gasped. Eyes turned on the man. Murmurs rose, angry and sharp. The man shook his head. "It's not true." The woman shouted, "It is." The sheriff raised a hand, trying to calm them. "Enough of this noise." But the women's voices grew louder. One cried, "We knew her. We saw her beg." Another shouted, "She carried the truth, and you buried it." The man staggered back. "I never swore." The stranger snapped, "She died believing you did. That's what matters." The sheriff barked, "Silence." The woman turned on him. "Why defend him, unless you're tied to it too?" The sheriff's jaw tightened. "Careful." The crowd pressed closer. Women's voices cut through his warning. "Careful nothing. We've been careful long enough." The man covered his face with his hands. His voice was raw. "I can't carry it." The woman's reply was cold. "You already are." The stranger held the letter high. She wrote it in her own hand. "You can't erase it." The sheriff looked at the paper, then at the crowd. His eyes flicked, uneasy. One old woman called out, "Read it again." The stranger's voice rang, firm. He promised her shelter. He let her die. And now her child lives with the weight. The baby stirred, a small hum slipping from her lips. The sound cut through the noise. The crowd stilled, listening. The woman rocked her close. Hear her. She carries Mary's voice. The sheriff's face twisted, caught between silence and rage. The man whispered, broken, "God forgive me." The crowd didn't. Their voices rose, not in whispers this time, but in fury. The night pulled them back to the hill. The well waited, black and open, stones damp with moss. The baby stirred in the woman's arms, quiet but restless. The man walked ahead, shoulders bent. The stranger followed, eyes burning. The sheriff trailed last, face set in grim silence. They stopped at the rim. The woman's voice broke the dark. "Here it ends." The man whispered, "It never ends." The stranger stepped forward. "Say it." "All of it." The sheriff's jaw tightened. "Careful what you demand." The woman turned on him, sharp. "You covered it. You buried her. Admit it." The sheriff looked at the ground. "I kept order." "You kept silent," she said. The man's voice cracked. "I betrayed her. I told her I'd help. Then I turned away, left her with nothing." The stranger's fists clenched, and she carried it till it killed her. The baby whimpered, soft and aching. The woman rocked her close. "She carries it still." The man dropped to his knees at the well's edge. "Mary, forgive me." The sheriff muttered, "Forgiveness doesn't change the truth." The stranger glared at him. "Then speak the truth." The sheriff's eyes flicked to the baby. His voice was low. "She was hurt by men who wore this badge. My father, his men. I covered it. I called it sickness. I called it nothing." The woman spat. "You called it ash." The sheriff's hands shook. "I thought it would fade." The stranger stepped closer, voice sharp. "But it didn't. It still sings." The baby let out a faint hum, thin and eerie. The sound froze them all. The woman whispered, "She won't stop until we answer." The man pressed his forehead to the stones. "I swore to her shelter. I swore and broke it." The sheriff's voice dropped to a growl. "And I swore to protect this town. I broke that too." The stranger's voice cut through. "Then both of you bear it, not her." The woman raised the baby higher, her eyes fierce. "She will not grow in your ashes." The hum grew sharper, then stilled. Silence pressed hard. The man lifted his head, eyes red. "What now?" The woman's voice was final. "We live with it. We don't hide it." The sheriff looked into the well, face hollow. "It'll haunt us." The stranger said, "Good. Let it go." The baby sighed, settling back into silence. The woman rocked her slow, steady. Ash drifted from the fire pit near the stones, carried by the wind, falling into the open well. The dark swallowed it whole. No one spoke. The truth lay between them, heavier than the night, louder than words. They are well held now, and the silence closed in.